Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto becomes the god of wind and Kami falls in love with Naruto, part 1. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, the Red Star, link is in the description, also subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's start the story. Sarutobi was getting desperate. He was fighting Orochimaru when suddenly he summoned the Shodai and Nidaime Hokages. He also tried to summon the Yondaime, but Sarutobi had been able to stop him. Needless to say, he was getting his ass kicked. Even with his personal summon, Enma, it wasn't enough. Looks like I have to use Minato's Shiki Fujin after all. He was about to make shadow clones so that he could stop all three of them, but there was an enormous bolt of lightning that hit the barrier Orochimaru's lackeys erected around them and pierced through. The bolt stayed for several seconds as it formed into a person. When the bolt finally ceased, there stood a very tall, handsome young man. He had long black hair tied back in a ponytail and piercing black eyes. He wore a white battle kimono and had a katana tucked in his obi. He also did not wear sandals, Sarutobi noted. He looked around for a moment, then turned towards the old Hokage. "Hey, Jiji, where am I?" the young man asked. "You are in Konoha, young man. Who are you?" "Who is this, Sarutobi? Some last-ditch effort to beat me?" Orochimaru taunted, only for the young man to look towards him. Said young man then turned towards the snake and scowled when he saw Orochimaru's blade. "So you're the one," the man said, then vanished. Not in a puff of smoke, not in a flash, he just vanished. Orochimaru was suddenly sent reeling back, dropping the Kusanagi. The resurrected Hokages turned to attack, only to be sent flying towards their successor. Sarutobi's eyes widened. The young man was now standing where Orochimaru once was, with the Kusanagi in hand, looking down at said blade. "What the hell did you do?" the man said, scowling. "You corrupted the Kusanagi, turned it into this thing," the man said, voice full of disdain. "Who the hell are you?" Orochimaru shouted, standing back up. "I am Susanoo, Kami of Storms, you pathetic ninja," the man, now known as Susanoo, said, never dropping his scowl. Everyone's eyes widened at that proclamation. "You claim to be a god," Orochimaru says. "Not a claim, asshole. I am Susanoo," Susanoo says. "And you are guilty of several crimes." "And what crimes would those be, pray tell?" Orochimaru says while trying to summon Kusanagi to him, only to find that it isn't moving from Susanoo's grip. Susanoo, who notices this, smirks. "Surprised? The sword won't move because it recognizes me as the one that cut it from the Yamata no Orochi." "So you really are Susanoo?" Sarutobi says, getting a nod from the man. "Indeed I am. As for the crimes, Orochimaru, was it? I am not the one to ask." "And who would be?" Orochimaru said. "My Nisan, Amaterasu." As soon as he said her name, a blaze of fire appeared not 10 feet from him and began to shrink down to the form of a human, much like with Susanoo and the lightning. The main difference, however, was that the fire was forming into the shape of a woman. A very attractive woman, Sarutobi noted. She had long black hair with impassive red eyes and wore a red and white kimono. She had a necklace that had 5 Magatama beads, the one in the center being the largest. "Hello Itaudo," the woman said. "Hey. I found the one who stole the Kusanagi, as well as the weapon itself. Here," he said, holding the handle towards her. "Hold on to it for now, Itaudo. I will need my hands for this," she says, cracking her knuckles as she walks towards Orochimaru. "I take it she's Amaterasu?" Sarutobi asks, receiving a nod from Susanoo. "Yup, that's my Nisan," he said. Amaterasu walked towards Orochimaru, disgust evident on her face. "You stole and corrupted the Kusanagi, a gift from my Itaudo, from me. You turned it into a monstrosity. For what purpose? Why?" she asked. Of course. And immortality. I will become a god," Orochimaru proclaims. Amaterasu only sighs. "Typical. Another ninja who wants to be a god. That is not up to you. Even if you mastered your immortality, you would still be human. That one thing cannot be changed," Amaterasu states, getting an angry glare from Orochimaru. "Shut up," Orochimaru shouts, charging the goddess. She rolled her eyes, easily dodging the man. She performed a simple palm thrust to his chest, sending him a good 20 feet back. The 2 Hokages charged her as well, only to have the same happen to them. Amaterasu looked at the downed Hokages. "You poor souls. Being brought back to this world through such a barbaric method. I think that Amato would be better off dealing with you too. Tsukiyomi," she shouts, causing a beam of light to appear near her. It also began to form a human shape, though this one was much smaller. When it finished, a little girl was formed. Said girl also had long black hair and kind purple eyes. She wore a purple and white kimono and had a smile upon her face. "Hello, Nai-san, Ni-san," Tsukiyomi said, looking between her siblings. "Hey Amato." Susanoo said, walking towards her. Tsukiyomi smiled even more upon seeing her brother, but frowned when she saw the kusanagi. Is that true, she asked, gesturing towards the blade. Susanoo nodded. What happened to it? She asked. It was modified, corrupted, by that man over there. Susanoo replied, nodding his head towards Orochimaru, who was slowly picking himself up. Can you fix it? He asked. Not right away, not without the Yata mirror. I can restore it, but it will take time without the mirror. She replied, looking sad. Susanoo smiled. Good. So long as the sword can be fixed. It's not like we don't have time. He said, making her smile again. Thanks, Nai-san. She says. Tsukiyomi looks toward her sister and giggles at what she sees. Amaterasu was currently hitting Orochimaru repeatedly over the head. Should we stop her? Tsukiyomi asks. Nah. Let her get it out of her system. Besides, better him than me. Susanoo replies, rubbing his head. Susanoo looks towards the resurrected Hokages. Yamato. He says, getting Tsukiyomi's attention. Yes, Nai-san. Can you deal with them? I have a few questions for the old man over there. He says, gesturing towards Sarutobi. Hi, Nai-san. She says, walking towards them. The Hokages stood up, eyes locking on Tsukiyomi. Tobirama charged forward, while Hashirama began forming hand signs for 8. Tsukiyomi merely lifted her right hand, and a wide energy shot towards Tobirama, sending him towards his brother. Hashirama dodged his brother, finishing him. Mokutan. Makusatsu Shibari no, he shouts, sending several tendrils of wood towards her. She merely fires another blast of wide energy, disrupting the attack and sending Hashirama crashing into his brother. Truly sad. To think a person would bring someone back to life in such a manner. I shall free your souls, don't you worry. She says, walking towards them. They tried to get up and attack again, but the same wide energy held them down. She put her hands on their foreheads, the wide energy coursing through their bodies. Their bodies then disintegrated. In place of the bodies, there were now only 2 souls, in the forms of the former Hokages. Thank you, they both said, before vanishing. Tsukiyomi smiled. She looked towards her brother. So, old man, you mind filling me in on a few things? Susanoo asked. I will do my best to answer any questions you may have. Sarutobi said, seeing as the current threats to the village were being dealt with. Well, for starters, who the hell is the guy my Ni-san is beating the shit out of right now? That man is known as Orochimaru. He was a former student of mine until he left the village for being caught experimenting on human beings. And you didn't kill him for that? Susanoo asked, surprised. I couldn't. I saw him, as if he were my son. I just couldn't do it. I see. Well, it looks like you won't have to worry about having to kill him yourself, as it seems my Ni-san is doing a good job of it, Susanoo said, looking over towards Amaterasu, who was still hitting Orochimaru repeatedly. And they say I have anger issues. He said. Tsukiyomi stood next to her brother. Are you sure we shouldn't stop her? Actually, I think we should. For now, anyway. He said, and the siblings began to move towards their angry sister. Susanoo quickly grabbed her by her arms and lifted her off of the ground. Tsukiyomi quickly restrained Orochimaru using that odd energy. Put me down, Atauto. Amaterasu shouted. Not until you calm down. We need him alive right now. You can kill him later, okay? She calmed down after that and Susanoo put her down. As soon as he released her, the 3 of them felt an enormous rush of Yaki. What the Susanoo said, looking towards the forest. That's odd. There haven't been any free Biju in years. Amaterasu states, also looking towards the forest. I'll go and check it out. Tsukiyomi states before teleporting using that energy again. Now, then, Susanoo states, turning back towards Sarutobi, where were we? Tsukiyomi teleported to the area she felt the Yaki coming from. When she got there, she saw a giant blade sticking out of the ground. Upon moving closer, she saw 2 boys, one with red hair, flat on his back, and the other, a blonde-haired boy, on his stomach. She heard the blonde boy telling the other something about not being alone and love. She didn't quite catch exactly what he was saying, but she got the gist of it. She was surprised to sense small traces of Yaki coming from both of them. She moved closer to the 2 boys and was shocked at what she felt. She sensed a large amount of Yaki hidden within the blonde. She moved closer to the boys, who only just now seemed to notice her. Who are you? The blonde asked. I am not here to harm either of you. I'm here to help you. She knelt down, directly in between the 2 boys, and the white energy seeped out of her, covering the boys. When the energy receded, the boys were healed of their wounds, but still exhausted. As soon as the energy receded, a black-haired boy landed near the blonde, and 2 people, a boy wearing a full-body black suit with a red and yellow circle on the front, purple face paint, and a black hood, and a girl with a fan on her back and her hair done up into 4 pigtails, landed near the red-headed boy. Who are you? The black-haired boy said, taking a combat stance. She ignored him, however, and moved towards the redhead. She put her hand on his head. "What's your name?" she asked, looking down at the boy. "Gara," he responded. She smiled. "My name is Tsukiyomi. Nice to meet you, Gara." Her hand began to glow, and Gara could feel Shikaku's presence in the back of his mind recede. After a few seconds, she removed her hand from his head. "What did you do?" he asked. "I perfected the seal. It won't bother you anymore. So I can sleep?" he asked, trying to process all that's happened. "Yes. You are free to do whatever you want," she said, never once dropping her smile. "Thank you, Tsukiyomi." Then, Gara's siblings picked him up, the girl thanking her, and left. She turned towards the blonde. The black-haired boy was standing in front of him in a combat stance. There was also a girl with pink hair laying near the blonde. "I am no threat to you, nor your friend. Let me pass, and I can help them," Tsukiyomi said, stepping forward. Sasuke was torn. They were all tired, and he and Sakura were injured. "How can you help us?" "I can remove that mark on you, for starters," she said, making his eyes widen. "How do you know about that?" he said. "I know a great many things, Sasuke. I also know that the path you are currently on will only lead to your death. How will you restore your clan then?" she questions, no longer smiling. Sasuke glared at her. "Now is not the time for this. Let me help your friend." Sasuke slowly stepped to the side, allowing Tsukiyomi to pass. Tsukiyomi kneeled down between the two downed people and lightly laid her hands on their heads. The same white energy surrounded her hands and entered their heads. After a few moments, they both awakened. The pink-haired girl's eyes immediately locked onto Sasuke, and she moved towards him. The blonde moved his head to see Tsukiyomi looking over him. Still only partially conscious, he said the first thing on his mind. "Beautiful," he said, then, waking up fully, immediately blushed and tried to stand. Tried, and failed. Taking pity on the boy, she grabbed his head after he fell yet again and put it on her lap. "Better?" she asked, smiling at him. Naruto blushed. "Yeah, I'm Naruto," he said, still blushing. "He's cute." She thought. "My name is Tsukiyomi. Tell me, are you a ninja of this village?" she asked. "Yup," he said, grinning. "I'm even gonna be the next Hokage." "I'm sure you will," she said. Naruto actually looked surprised. "You actually believe me?" he said, surprised. "No one's ever really believed in me before." Now it was Tsukiyomi's turn to be surprised. "No one? That's odd. Anyway, as fun as talking to you is, I think I better get back to my siblings. They should be done talking to the old man by now." Naruto sat up and turned around. "Your siblings are talking to the old man? Can you take me to him?" "Sure," she said, standing up. "Take my hand." Naruto grabbed her hand and turned towards his teammates. "Hey guys, I'm gonna go talk to the old man. See you later." And the white energy swirled around the two of them and they were gone. "Where'd they go, Sasuke-kun?" Sakura asked. "My guess is to see the Hokage. We've got to report back to Kakashi. Let's go." And the two of them headed back to the village. Rooftop. Tsukiyomi and Naruto arrived on the roof to see Susanoo and Amaterasu talking to Sarutobi about something. Naruto's eyes widened upon seeing Orochimaru and would have attacked if not for the fact that Orochimaru was restrained from moving by Tsukiyomi's energy and Tsukiyomi still had a firm grip on his hand. Tsukiyomi led Naruto over to her siblings, who just noticed her. "Hey Yamato. Who's the kid?" Susanoo asked, pointing at Naruto. "This is Naruto. He's a ninja of this village and one of the sources of the Yauki we felt a moment ago." Naruto looked at Tsukiyomi, shocked. "Really?" Susanoo said, kneeling down to look Naruto in the eye. His eyes narrowed for a moment, then relaxed. "You've got the Kyuubi in you," Susanoo stated. "How do you?" "We can sense Yauki," Amaterasu answered. "Besides, I think we should recognize the Yauki of one of the beasts that we created," Susanoo said, making Naruto's and Sarutobi's eyes widen. "You created the Kyuubi?" Sarutobi said in shock. "Not just Kyuubi. We created all of the Biju," Amaterasu explained. "Why?" Sarutobi asked. "To keep balance. The Biju were created to preserve natural order. Without them, the world would have deteriorated," Tsukiyomi explained. Sarutobi, still in shock, merely nodded. "I see. What exactly is it you three want?" Sarutobi asked, finally. "Well, we want our stuff back," Susanoo said. "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "My Nai-sen's weapon, the Totsuka blade, and my treasure, the Yada mirror, are still missing. We were also looking for the Kusanagi, my Ni-sen's weapon, but we have it now," Tsukiyomi said, gesturing towards the blade, still in Susanoo's hands. "So you've come to regain your possessions," Sarutobi stated. "Not just to regain them," The ones who have stolen from us are to be killed, as stealing from a god is punished by death. Amaterasu said, now looking at Orochimaru. Said man was still incapacitated by Tsukiyomi's energy. So you're gonna kill Orochimaru? Naruto asked, looking at Tsukiyomi. Yes. More specifically, Ni-san will. You kill the one who stole from you. Tsukiyomi explained to Naruto. So what happens now? Sarutobi asked. We're gonna continue our search after Ni-san kills Orochimaru. Amaterasu then began walking towards Orochimaru, who began squirming, trying to escape. No. I'm immortal. I cannot die. Orochimaru shouted, trying to escape. The energy held strong, though. Amaterasu merely shook her head, motioning towards Susanoo. He walked over to his sister. What's up? She gestured to the katana at his waist. He nodded and unsheathed the blade, handing it to her. Remember, it's a normal katana. He warned. She nodded, then continued to walk towards the trapped, who was still trying futilely to escape. Now standing over the snake, she raised the sword, and the blade began to glow orange. Energy pulsed through the blade, and Naruto and Sarutobi could feel the air around them heat up. The blade suddenly turned white, though you could see a very small amount of fire seep from the blade. Amaterasu stabbed Orochimaru through the heart, and the heat in the blade vanished. Suddenly, Orochimaru began to scream. The scent of burning flesh was pungent in the air, and, suddenly, Orochimaru's body burst into flames. After only a minute, the body had been completely incinerated. She turned around, facing the others, and saw a mixed reaction. Susanoo was smirking, obviously happy with the death of Orochimaru. Tsukiyomi was smiling, as always, still holding Naruto's hand. Speaking of Naruto, the blonde looked shocked at the display, as well as the smell. Sarutobi simply looked surprised at the display of power. Now that's my Ni-chan. Susanoo commented, making her roll her eyes. Indeed, Ni-san. Tsukiyomi said. Amaterasu smiled. What was all Naruto said? Sarutobi didn't say anything, instead staring at where Orochimaru once was. Amaterasu handed the katana back to Susanoo, who immediately began inspecting it. Well, this is a first. You actually didn't break my katana. He comments, sheathing the blade. In all the time we've been around, I've only broken one of your swords. She replied. Like hell. You've broken at least 3. Susanoo replied, getting a glare from Amaterasu. Anyway, Tsukiyomi interrupted, now what? We have no leads as to where the Totsuka or the Yadomira are. Where are we supposed to look? No. Why can't Izanagi-sama help us with this? Susanoo said. Maybe because he's busy running our realm. Amaterasu answered. It shouldn't be that hard. He replied. Especially since you're not there right now. She comments. Hey. Ni-san, we're getting off track. Tsukiyomi interrupted. Can I help you look? Naruto asked. Tsukiyomi smiled at him. I'd like that, Naruto-kun. Susanoo smirked, while Amaterasu looked at Uramoto with a smile. Well, you can't help us bring that weakness. Susanoo said, making Naruto glare at him. Hey. I'm tough. Naruto said. Maybe by ninja standards, Gaki, but not by kami standards. So, in order to prevent you from getting yourself killed, I will turn you into a badass. Susanoo proclaimed. You're gonna train me? Naruto asked. Well, duh. Amaterasu, meanwhile, had incinerated 3 of the Sound 4, leaving only a red-haired girl alive, though she had burns all over her body. She picked the girl up and carried her back to her siblings. Who's that? Susanoo asked. Don't know. Didn't feel like killing her. She explained. What are you gonna do with her? He asked. Find out information. She might have a clue as to where your treasures are. She worked for Orochimaru, who managed to steal the Kusanagi. She might know. Susanoo nodded. Right. Well, there are things that need attending, so I'm afraid I must go. Sarutobi said. We'll go with you. Odds are, people expect you to be dead. Amaterasu said, handing the girl to Susanoo, who slung her over his shoulder like a potato sack. Yeah. Come on, Naruto. Tsukiyomi said, tugging Naruto's hand so that he'd follow her. Naruto nodded, and the 5 of them proceeded to the exam stadium. Junin Exam Stadium. The 5 of them had only arrived moments ago. They looked down to the stadium floor and saw a silver-haired man and a man wearing a green jumpsuit who had bowl-cut hair fighting 2 Odo nins. Kakashi-sensei. Jejimeyu-sensei. Naruto shouted. Susanoo turned to face Naruto. You know those 2? He asked. Yeah. The one with silver hair is my sensei. The other's his rival. Naruto exclaimed. Susanoo nodded and jumped down to the stadium floor. Who are you? The silver-haired man, now known as Kakashi, asked. My name is Susanoo, and I'm on your side, for now. He said, drawing his sword and pointing it at the Odo nin. I don't really see the point in you resisting, seeing as your leader is dead. He states. Liar. One of the nin shouted. No, it's true. My Nisan killed him with this very sword. Susanoo explained, shaking his sword slightly. So either you give up or I start severing body parts. He added darkly, glaring at the nin. Well, then. I see only one way out of this. A gray-haired Odo nin stated, escape. He left the stadium, disappearing via Shunshin. Susanoo made short work of the other nin, quickly dashing behind him, severing his head. He flicked the blood off of his blade and sheathed it, turning towards the two Konoha nin. He gestured towards the others on the balcony, who quickly jumped down. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said, waving at his sensei. Hey Naruto. I take it mission accomplished. He said, pulling his headband down to cover his Sharingan. Yup. I even beat Gaara. He replied. Really? That's amazing Naruto. Kakashi said. He looked towards the others there until he saw Sarutobi. Hokage-sama, who are these three? They defeated Orochimaru, Kakashi, and saved me. Sarutobi replied, making Kakashi and Guy's eyes widen. Oh really? Yes. Now, report. Sarutobi said. The Odo nin are retreating, but some are still attacking. The Anbu are dealing with them, but they are having a bit of trouble. Kakashi states. Susanoo stepped forward after laying the girl on the ground near Naruto and Tsukiyomi. I'll help with that, Jiji. Susanoo disappeared in a bolt of lightning, shocking Kakashi and Guy. What of the academy students? They are under the Hokage mountain, as per standard procedure. Guy stated. Amaterasu, if it's not too much trouble, would you check on them? Sarutobi asked. Of course. It beats just standing here. She said, dissipating in a blast of fire. No sooner had she left than Naruto's teammates arrived. Naruto? How'd you get here before us? Sakura shouted. Simple. Teleportation. Tsukiyomi replied. Anyway, I defeated Gaara. Sasuke said, smirking. That's bull, team. Naruto shouted, pointing a finger at Sasuke. I beat Gaara and you know it. Prove it, dope. I can, actually. Naruto said, now calm. Do you have the Toad contract? Of course not, dope. Well, there you go. I summoned the boss Toad to fight Gaara. Ask him for confirmation. Naruto said. Tsukiyomi smiled at Naruto. That's kinda tough to do, seeing as he's not here. Sasuke said, smirking his usual smirk. Well, I could always summon him again and you could ask him then. Sasuke's smirk faded. Enough. The two of you can argue later. The point is, Gaara has been defeated. Konoha is still under attack. Sarutobi said. Naruto nodded and Sasuke nodded slowly. My Nai-san and Ni-san are more than capable enough to slaughter a lot of them. Sending backup would only slow them down. Tsukiyomi said. Then what do you propose we do? Sarutobi asked. Well, Nai-san is probably going nuts right now. An explosion was heard in the distance, followed by maniacal laughter, and Ni-san would sooner rip someone's head off before allowing any harm to come to the children, so I think the best course would be to stay out of their way. So long as we do that, I don't have any objections to anything you plan. She said, still holding Naruto's hand. Alright then, Kakashi, Guy, I want you to assist in repelling the Odo nin. Sasuke, Sakura, go to the medics. Get yourselves treated. Tsukiyomi, Naruto, assist Guy and Kakashi, if you will. I will help Jiraiya dispose of the snakes. Sarutobi then left via Shunshin, Tsukiyomi teleported her and Naruto out of there, Kakashi and Guy also left via Shunshin, while Sasuke and Sakura had to run. Konoha Wall. Susanoo had been chasing a group of Odo nin that had scattered after he shot that enormous lightning bolt at them, killing half of them. He had chased them to the wall when 4 of them suddenly lost their heads. A team of Anbu jumped out of the shadows and slaughtered the rest of them. They were apparently being led by the Anbu with a Nico mask. Not bad, not bad. Susanoo commented, clapping at the attack. Who are you? The Nico masked Anbu asked. Ironic. A person wearing a mask asks me who I am. You give your name first, then I'll tell you mine. He stated. How do I know I can trust you? She questioned. Well, I was after those Odo nin, so for now I guess I'm on your side. Very well. My name is Yugao Yuzuki. She said, removing her mask. Beautiful and deadly. You may call me Susanoo. He said, giving a mock bow. Like the god. One of the Anbu behind her asked. The one and only. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have ninja to kill. He said, disappearing in a bolt of lightning. Susanoo, Yugao muses, then quickly shakes her head and replaces her Anbu mask. Move out. She orders and the squad disappears to continue their job. Okage Mountain, Secret Cavern. Iruka was standing with the other teachers, watching the students. He wished he could know what was happening up there. He was broken from his thoughts when a tornado of flames appeared not 10 feet from them. Preparing to defend the students, they were all shocked to see a beautiful woman step out of the torrent before dispelling it. She looked around, taking in the situation. She turned to the teachers and began to walk towards them. Said teachers were still on guard. "You are the teachers at the Ninja Academy, yes?" she asked. Yes, Haruka answered hesitantly, still unsure of whether or not to trust this woman. Good, that means I'm in the right place. My name is Amaterasu, and I was asked by your Hokage to watch over the students with you," she said. Some of the teachers relaxed, but others were still suspicious. Haruka was one of them. "Do you have any sort of proof?" he asked. "Not really. You'll just have to trust me. I would sooner slit my throat than allow any harm to come to these children, though," she said, sitting down in a meditative position. "Alright, I'll trust you, for now," he said, going back to watching the students. The Noha wall, 1 hour later. Susanoo pulled his katana out of the chest of the fallen Odonin, wiping the blood off before sheathing it. He turned to see the Anbu team that he had run into an hour ago. They had decided to follow him, he guessed, to examine whether or not he was a threat. He walked towards them, seeing as all of the Odonin were either dead or captive. None were able to escape, due largely in part to him frying a great deal of them with a well-placed lightning bolt. "Still don't trust me?" he questioned Yugao. "I can tell you're not a threat, at least not now," she said. "That's good. Now then, I wonder where Amato and her little boyfriend are," he said, looking around. "Well, I guess I better find them. See you later, Nico-chan," he said, teleporting away, leaving a flustered Anbu alone with her team. Okage Mountain, Cavern. The Amaterasu stood up from her meditative position. "The invasion is over," she stated, making Haruka look at her. "How do you know that?" he asked. "Simple. Mayataudo has stopped using his powers. The only reason for that is he's bored or there's no one left to use them on. I'm betting more on the latter, as he never gets bored during a battle. I guess I'd better go look for Amato and her little boyfriend. What was his name? Oh, Naruto," she said. "You know Naruto?" Haruka asked. "Yes. He's Amato's friend." "How do you know him?" she asked. "I was his teacher when he was at the academy. He's like my little brother," he stated. "Interesting. Well, I guess that means we'll see more of each other, then," she said, before vanishing in a column of fire, not noticing the light blush on Haruka's face. Rooftop. Naruto and Tsukiyomi were sitting on a rooftop overlooking the village. They had contributed a great deal to repelling the invasion, defeating a great deal of Odonin. They were currently relaxing, seeing as the invasion was over. They turned around, hearing a crackling sound. They saw a lightning bolt come down behind them, and Susanoo emerged from it. "Looks like the invasion's over," he said. The two merely nodded. A column of fire appeared next to Susanoo, and Amaterasu was next to him. "There you two are. I take it the invasion's over?" she asked, getting nods from all three. "So what happens now?" Naruto asked. "For now, just relax. You've worked hard today, Gaki. We'll deal with everything later. For now, rest," Susanoo said, seeing how tired Naruto was. It wasn't much later that Naruto fell asleep, his head falling right in Tsukiyomi's lap. Said girl merely shifted his body so that he'd be more comfortable. Her siblings smiled at the sight. "This search is going to take a lot of time," Amaterasu said, looking at Susanoo. "Yeah, but at least it'll be interesting," Susanoo said, looking down at the two children. Amaterasu smiled. "Interesting, indeed," she agreed. Tsukiyomi looked down at Naruto's sleeping form. She smiled. "At least we'll have help." Amaterasu and Sarutobi walked into the council chambers. Seated in the chamber were the clan heads, Danzo, Kaharu, and Hamura. "Sarutobi, we are so pleased to see that you survived," Danzo said. "Indeed," Hiashi said. "Who's that woman behind you, Sarutobi?" Hamura asked. "I am Amaterasu," Amaterasu answered. "Like the goddess?" Inoichi asked. "No. I am Amaterasu," she said, punctuating her words with a blast of heat. The council members gulped. "So, you're the real goddess Amaterasu?" Choza asked. Amaterasu nodded. "Yes. My siblings would have come as well, but Mayataudo has a habit of killing people he doesn't like, and Mayamato is busy helping Naruto." "Naruto?" Tsume said. "Yes. Naruto Uzumaki. Tell me, why are you all hiding his true heritage from him?" At that question, the elders' eyes widened while the clan heads looked confused. "What heritage?" Choza asked again. "His parents. Am I really the only one who notices the resemblance?" she said, holding up a picture of the Yondaime Hokage. "Take away the whiskers and you've got a mini Minato." "Yondaime-sama was Naruto's father," Inoichi said. "Obviously. So, I take it none of you knew." Getting nods from all of the clan heads, she turned to the elders. "It's obvious that you three knew," Sarutobi has already told me why he withheld Naruto's heritage and, though I don't agree with him, I understand why. So, why did you lie to him? She asked, glaring at Danzo. It was to protect Kaharu started, only to be cut off by Amaterasu. Protect him from what? Iwa. There is no way they would risk another war with Konoha just to get revenge on Yondaime. Even now, they're still not at 100% functionality. There's no way they'd be capable of infiltrating the village, killing Naruto, and getting out without you knowing. Logically, it makes no sense. So don't try that. Tell the truth, and if you lie to me again, I will roast you. Amaterasu stated, ending it with a glare. The elders gulped. Sarutobi spoke up. Well? Answer her. He said, glaring at them as well. It was to turn him into a weapon. In time, we would have turned him into Konoha's loyal demon, willing to die to protect us. Danzo said, not showing an ounce of remorse. More and more, I wonder why Izanagi-sama bothered to make such despicable creatures. Amaterasu said to herself, shaking her head. Anyway, I think that you three should step down. You are no longer thinking in the best interest of Konoha. Step down? You cannot make us step down. Homura shouted. Amaterasu shook her head. Maybe not, but I can annihilate you and make sure that your soul suffers for all time. Pick one. Amaterasu said, her hands becoming surrounded with flames. Homura and Kaharu gulped, then got out of their seats. Danzo, however, made no effort to move. You kill me, and Konoha will execute you, he said confidently. Amaterasu rolled her eyes. You honestly believe that? Konoha has no authority over myself or my siblings. We are a higher power. You are beneath us. You have 5 seconds. Make your choice. Danzo did not move. Amaterasu instantly set him on fire. His screams of pain echoed through the chamber. Not 10 seconds later, there was nothing but ash remaining. Your power is now unobstructed, Sarutobi. Sarutobi smiled. Thank you for your assistance, Amaterasu-sama. Tsukiyomi-sama is showing Naruto to his new living quarters, yes? He asked, sitting in his chair. Yes. It was quite interesting watching him bounce around when we told him of his heritage. Amaterasu answered, giggling. True to her words, Naruto had indeed jumped around his apartment with Tsukiyomi when Amaterasu had told him who his parents were. Tsukiyomi was currently showing Naruto around his family's house. It was large, though not enormous. Susanoo, well, Amaterasu wasn't exactly sure what it was doing. Good. From now on, Naruto will be known as his family intended. Naruto Namikaze. Any objections? Not one of the council members raised their hands. Good. I'll make the announcement later. Now then, we should discuss our efforts to restore the village. Namikaze's house. Tsukiyomi giggled as she watched Naruto jump around the house, examining every inch of it. Amaterasu had told her to help him where help was needed while she went with Sarutobi. She didn't know what Susanoo was doing. She just hoped he wasn't doing anything too destructive. Naruto-kun, it's been an hour, I think you've explored the house enough. She said, making him stop in his frantic exploration. I know, I'm just so excited. Your Nai-san's gonna train me, I'm Yondaime's son, and I beat Gaara. I feel amazing. He said excitedly. Tsukiyomi giggled again. You're so funny, Naruto-kun. Thanks, Tsukiyomi-chan. Naruto said, grinning. Suddenly, Susanoo walked into the room and sat across from Tsukiyomi, looking bored. Where have you been, Nai-san? Tsukiyomi questioned. Susanoo sighed deeply, slouching into the sofa. Just checking out the village. It's so boring, Imauto. Susanoo said, sliding out of the sofa. Why don't you bring down Kushinada? Tsukiyomi asked, making Susanoo jump out of his seat, now smiling brightly. Great idea, Imauto. Be back in a bit, he said, already dashing out of the house. What's got him so excited? Naruto asked, sitting on the sofa. He was complaining he was bored, so I suggested he bring his first wife down here. How would that stop him from being bored? And what do you mean first wife? Naruto asked. Well, Nai-san has to have more than one wife, as there aren't many of us left. Kushinada became his wife as his reward for killing Yamada no Orochi. The two of them are quite smitten with each other and she is good friends with Nii-san. Tsukiyomi explained. Naruto nodded. Tsukiyomi then heard an enormous growl. She turned to where it came from and saw Naruto sheepishly rubbing his head, blushing. Hungry? She asked, smiling lightly. Starving? You? He asked. Tsukiyomi nodded. Do you know any good places to eat? She asked. Naruto grinned. I know just the place. He grabbed Tsukiyomi's hand and dashed out the door with a little goddess in tow. Ichiraku's ramen bar. Tsukiyomi raised a brow at where Naruto took her to. Ramen? She asked. Yup. It's the best food in the world. Naruto proudly exclaimed. Tsukiyomi giggled. She seemed to do that a lot around Naruto. Sure, Naruto-kun. They walked into the stand and sat down at the bar. AM quickly dashed up. Hey, Naruto-kun, who's this? Your girlfriend? AM asked upon seeing Tsukiyomi. Both she and Naruto both blushed brightly. Naruto, not sure what to say, looked at Tsukiyomi. She was looking right back at him expectantly. AM giggled. I'm kidding, Naruto-kun. The usual. AM asked. Naruto nodded, breathing out a sigh of relief. And what about you? AM asked Tsukiyomi. Miso ramen, please. She told AM. AM nodded and headed to the back to give her father the orders. Susanoo headed to the wall around the village. He then vanished in a bolt of lightning. When he reappeared, he was no longer in Konoha. Instead, he was inside a mansion. He looked around with a small smile on his face. It's good to be home, he said to himself. He headed to the bedroom and saw a beautiful black-haired woman asleep in the bed. Susanoo grinned when she rolled onto her back. He walked over to the edge of the bed and leaned down. He moved the hair out of her face and kissed. Morning, Haim. He said. The woman pecked his lips. Welcome back, Susanoo-kun. She said, Susanoo moving back to the edge of the bed, allowing her to sit up, revealing she was naked. Were you able to find your treasures? We found the Kusanagi. No luck on the others yet. Then why are you here? I've come for you. We found a place we can use as a base, as well as people who can help us. The only problem is, we have to be patient. As you know, I'm not very good at that. The woman giggled, nodding her head, so, Imauto suggested I bring you down. Also, I found a human worthy of training. Kushinada's eyes widened. You found a human you deem worthy? What's so special about him? She asked. Do things. Imauto's got a crush on him and he holds within him the Kyuubi. Susanoo replied. Kyuubi? Isn't he one of your creations? Kushinada asked. Susanoo nodded. Yeah, but he got sealed into this boy by the boy's father to protect his village. We think we may be able to free him or at least enable the boy to gain his powers. Kushinada nodded, then smiled. So Tsukiyomi has a crush? Susanoo grinned. You're gonna tease her, aren't you? He asked. He got a grin as his answer. Alright, then, you might want to get dressed, as much as I like seeing you naked. Kushinada got out from under the covers and headed towards the closet, Susanoo slapping her ass as she stood up. She responded by walking to the closet shaking her hips. Susanoo smirked. Tease. Kushinada came out of the closet wearing a beautiful red kimono decorated with thunder clouds. She walked over towards Susanoo and hugged him. It's really good to see you again, Koi. She said, her voice slightly muffled by his chest. He pulled her head back and kissed her forehead. Same here, Koichi. He replied, hugging her back. They vanished in a bolt of lightning. Amaterasu sighed as she walked through the village. They had already begun reconstruction of the village, so the streets were very busy. When Amaterasu walked by, though, every man on the street stopped what they were doing to stare at her. Good thing Itato isn't here, he'd cut these guys to ribbons. She then sensed Tsukiyomi's energy at a ramen stand. Why is she there? She approached the ramen stand and upon entering, saw her sister and Naruto talking to the man she met under the Hokage mountain. Haruka, I think. Tsukiyomi turned and saw her sister. Nii-san, what are you doing here? Tsukiyomi asked, drawing the men's attention. Haruka blushed when he saw her. I sensed your energy here and was curious as to why you'd be here. I'm guessing Naruto's idea. Tsukiyomi nodded. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Amaterasu smiled slightly and sat down next to Haruka. Miso ramen, please. She turned towards Haruka. Haruka, yes. Yeah. Haruka replied, blushing. Amaterasu smiled. It is nice to see you again. She said. Same here, he replied. Damn it, stop stuttering. She's just a woman. A beautiful woman that can make you spontaneously combust. Is something wrong? Your face is red. Amaterasu noted, touching his forehead, making him turn so red it could put Hinata to shame. Tsukiyomi smiled widely seeing the two interact. She nudged Naruto lightly, bringing his attention to her. I think your sensei likes my Nii-san. Tsukiyomi whispered. What makes you think that? Naruto whispered back. Tsukiyomi rolled her eyes. Even if he isn't stupid, he's still oblivious. She thought. Your sensei's acting the way most people do around someone they really like. Tsukiyomi explained. Oh. So what should we do? Naruto asked. They then heard a crackling sound outside the stand, followed by a bright flash of light. They all looked outside and saw Susanoo walk into the stand holding the hand of a black-haired woman. Hey, guys. Naruto, this is Kushinada, my wife. Susanoo introduced. Kushinada bowed to Naruto. It is a pleasure to meet you, Naruto-san. Susanoo-kun has told me much about you. Kushinada then looked at Haruka. And who might you be? This is Iruka. Amaterasu introduced. Iruka stood up and bowed. It's a pleasure to meet you, Kusanada-sama. Iruka said formally, causing Kusanada to shake her hands at him. There is no need to be so formal with me. My status isn't as lofty as Susanoo-kun's. You're still his wife, though, Kusanada-chan, people will respect you for it. Amaterasu stated. Kusanada nodded in response. There you are, Gaki. I've been looking everywhere for you. Jiraiya said, walking into the shop. He then looked at Amaterasu, then Kusanada, and began to giggle perversely. He would have done more, but Susanoo drop-kicked him out of the shop, muttering about damn old perverts. Naruto looked towards where the Toad Sage landed. Wonder what he wanted me for, he wondered aloud. Tsukiyomi jumped off of her stool and grabbed Naruto's hand. Only one way to find out, she said. The two of them headed after Jiraiya. Susanoo and Kusanada sat down on the stools that Tsukiyomi and Naruto had recently vacated. So, is he your boyfriend? Susanoo asked Amaterasu, pointing at Iruka, who blushed. Not yet. Amaterasu replied. Yet? Kusanada asked. Yet? Iruka repeated. Amaterasu smiled. I like you, Iruka-kun. You're a very kind man, and I'd like to know you better. Amaterasu stated, looking Iruka directly in the eyes. Iruka blushed harder. If your face gets any redder, your head will explode. Susanoo commented. Kusanada elbowed him in the ribs in response. She then stood up, dragging him with her. We'll leave you two alone. Susanoo-kun is going to show me around the village. Kusanada told Amaterasu, who smiled and mouthed thank you to her. Kusanada smiled back and dragged her husband out of the stand, in spite of his protests. Amaterasu turned back towards Iruka, who was still blushing. Well, judging from the fact that you're still blushing, I'm guessing you have a crush on me. Amaterasu stated, causing Iruka's eyes to lock onto her. She followed her statement with a light kiss on Iruka's cheek. Lucky for you, it's mutual. She said with a smile, causing Iruka to smile back. Yes, I am lucky. He responded. The new couple exited the stand after paying for their ramen. Wow, you're nice, and kicked the pervert halfway across the village. Naruto commented, looking at the unconscious Jiraiya. Tsukiyomi poked the pervert. How are we going to wake him up? She asked. Naruto grinned. Hey, Hiro-senin. Look at that girl over there. Naruto shouted into the pervert's ear, who bolted up at the mention of a girl. Where? Where? Jiraiya looked around. Tsukiyomi rolled her eyes. Is he always like this? She asked. Naruto nodded. Unfortunately, yes. What did you want to talk to me about, Hiro-senin? Naruto asked. Sensei's got a mission for you and me. A mission? Why you and me? Naruto asked. Sensei's getting older. This invasion made him realize how weak he's become, so he's retiring. The only person capable of replacing him, however, isn't in the village right now, so we're going to find her. Her? Who exactly are we going to be looking for? The last of the Sannin, Tsunade Senju. Jiraiya stated. So she's as old as you? Naruto asked. Jiraiya face faulted. I'm not old, Gaki. Jiraiya shouted. Naruto waved him off. Whatever, Hiro-senin. So when do we leave? Yeah, when do we leave? Tsukiyomi asked. Look, I know you're Naruto's friend, but I can't endanger you on this mission. Jiraiya said. Tsukiyomi raised a brow. Do you have any idea who you're speaking to, Ninjin? Tsukiyomi questioned. Jiraiya looked confused. Tsukiyomi-chan can take care of herself, Hiro-senin. She won't need us to protect her. Besides, it's not like this mission is overly dangerous. Naruto commented. Fine, whatever. Anyway, grab your gear. We're leaving as soon as possible. Meet me at the gate in 2 hours. Jiraiya said, walking off. Hey, Tsukiyomi-chan, why do you want to come with us anyway? Naruto asked. I'd be bored if you left the village without me, Naruto-kun. Besides, someone has to keep you safe. She replied, poking him in the chest. He chuckled as they headed back to his house to pack. Kusanada leaned into Susanoo as they looked at the memorial stone. They heard someone approaching behind them. They turned to see a purple-haired woman holding flowers. I'm sorry, I didn't know someone was already here. I recognized that voice, Nico-chan. Susanoo asked. Susanoo-san? Yugao asked. He nodded. Who is this, Susanoo-kun? Kusanada asked her husband. She's one of the Anbu I fought alongside during the invasion I told you about. Susanoo explained. She is quite beautiful. Kusanada stated, looking Yugao up and down. I approve. Susanoo looked down at her with a shocked face. Do you approve? I barely know her. He said. Not now, Susanoo-kun. Tell me, Yugao-san, who are those flowers for? Kusanada asked. I love her, hey, Jekko. He was killed by Sunanin. Yugao said sadly as she laid the flowers in front of the stone. He died in the invasion? Susanoo asked. No, beforehand. He was killed because he had apparently overheard Sunanin speaking with an agent from Odo about the invasion. Yugao explained. I'm sorry, he said. Kusanada nodded her head. It's rough, losing someone you love. But at least you're not alone. You have friends, right? Yeah. They've always been there for me. And so will we. Kusanada said with a smile. Yugao looked up at the couple. You will? Will we? Susanoo asked. Kusanada looked up at her husband with a do, as I say a look. He gulped, then nodded. Yeah, sure we will. Thank you, she said. The three of them silently paid their respects to the fallen heroes of Konoha. Finally, are you two ready? Jiraiya asked impatiently, seeing Naruto and Tsukiyomi approach the gate. Yeah. Let's get going. Naruto said, walking out of the village, Tsukiyomi right next to him. Jiraiya headed after the two of them. So, you have any idea where she might be? Knowing Tsunade, she'll be somewhere where there's booze and gambling, her two favorite things. Jiraiya told them. Tsukiyomi looked at Jiraiya. And just how many villages have gambling dens and bars? She asked. Most of them, Jiraiya said, but I think I know where we can start looking. My spy network reported to me before we left the village about a woman matching Tsunade's description headed towards Tenzaku town. If we're fast enough, we might catch her. Jiraiya explained. Then what are we waiting for? Lead the way. Naruto said, and the three of them took off for Tenzaku town. Fast as they were forced to stop at a hotel when nightfall hit. Tsukiyomi made Jiraiya get 2 rooms, not wanting to share with the pervert. Jiraiya got his own suit, while Naruto and Tsukiyomi shared another. Luckily, in Naruto's opinion anyway, they had separate beds. Tsukiyomi was taking a shower while Naruto was practicing a technique that Jiraiya had begun to teach him as they traveled. He was currently trying to pop a water balloon using only his chakra. He was currently having a bit of difficulty. Tsukiyomi stepped into the room wearing a robe to see Naruto struggling to pop the balloon. She walked over to the ninja. Why are you only moving the water in one direction? She asked. He looked up at her for a moment, then suddenly had a look of realization on his face. He concentrated harder on the balloon, and slowly, multiple bumps appeared on the balloon, and it burst. Naruto grinned widely and hugged the tiny goddess. Thanks for the help, Tsukiyomi-chan. You're a genius. He said, spinning her around. Said goddess was giggling at the blonde's joy. Naruto stopped spinning her around and blushed at how close they were. He quickly released her and began sputtering out apologies. Tsukiyomi put her finger to his lips to shush him. She smiled. You don't need to apologize, Naruto-kun. Besides, I liked being in your arms. She said, making Naruto blush. Tsukiyomi giggled at Naruto's expression of confusion. She leaned forward and kissed him on the cheek. Naruto turned red. Tsukiyomi-chan. I really like you, Naruto-kun. How do you feel about me? She asked the nervous blonde. I think you're the most beautiful girl I've ever met, Tsukiyomi-chan. You're smart, pretty, kind, and really strong. I really like you, too. Naruto confessed at her urging. She smiled. So what happens now? I think we should take it slow, Naruto-kun. We should go on a few dates and see where that goes after this mission is over, of course. Naruto nodded. They heard a knocking on the door. Naruto got up and answered it, with Tsukiyomi getting dressed in the bathroom. He opened the door, expecting to see Jiraiya, but instead was met with 2 men wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them. He looked up and saw that the man in front had Sharingan. Naruto Uzumaki, you will come with us. The man stated. Naruto looked back into the room, then shut the door, surprising the 2 men. Itachi, did he seriously just do that? The fish-like man asked the Uchiha. I believe so, kiss him. Itachi clarified. The door suddenly flew open, and a burst of energy sent them both back into the wall. Tsukiyomi stepped out of the room, fully dressed. She looked at the men who were standing up and frowned. Why are you here? Tsukiyomi questioned. We're here for the Gaki, now get out of the way. Kisum shouted, swinging his blade at her. A wall of white energy came up and blocked the blow. She dashed forward and thrusted her hand forward, sending Kisum back into the wall. Itachi engaged her in a taijutsu battle, which he was surprisingly forced back. She's too fast. He was sent into the wall once more in the same manner as Kisum. She glared down at the men. It would be wise of you to leave. I will not let you capture Naruto-kun. I would rather not kill you, but I will if I must. She said, energy flowing around her. Itachi looked at her, his eyes slowly changing. Itachi? Sasuke shouted angrily, seeing his brother for the first time since the destruction of their clan. Itachi looked over at Sasuke, his eyes returning back to the shape of normal Sharingan. Sasuke. Hey, Itachi, he's your little bro. Kisum asked. Itachi nodded. Naruto sighed. Just what we need, Marie Uchiha. Naruto commented. Tsukiyomi looked between the two brothers and noticed a small leak of power coming from them. A leak of kami power. How do they have our energy? Did Nisan or Nai-san do this? She wondered. She, Naruto, and Kisame watched as Itachi pummeling his brother before using an ability on him that shocked Tsukiyomi deeply. Itachi let his brother slide to the floor as he deactivated the Tsukiyomi Genjutsu. He turned back to his partner and target and saw the shocked look on Tsukiyomi's face. How did you get that power? Tsukiyomi asked, still shocked. Itachi didn't respond. He was suddenly hit in the stomach by Kisame, thrown at him by Tsukiyomi. How did you get that power? Answer me, ninja, Tsukiyomi shouted, her eyes glowing white. She slowly approached them. Kisame swung his sword at her, only for the sword itself to move away from the enraged goddess. The sword left Kisame's grasp, fleeing from Tsukiyomi. Where are you going? The power of a kami cannot be absorbed by something so inferior. As much as I dislike saying it, we are superior. No ninja can ever attempt to match our power, even with power such as yours. Tsukiyomi explained, now holding Itachi by the throat. You called your power that, Tsukiyomi. My name is Tsukiyomi, ninja, and you somehow possess a small portion of my power. You think that technique is so powerful? Let's see how much you like it after you experience it, Tsukiyomi shouted, sending both Itachi and Kisame into the dream realm. Not quite as powerful without the Yata mirror, but it is more than satisfactory. Tsukiyomi said, looking upon Itachi and Kisame, who were looking around the world that Tsukiyomi had brought them into. I thought you said that you would send us into the nightmare realm. This is not that realm, it is too serene. Itachi said. You wield a weak and corrupt version of my power, Itachi. Your own power is insignificant compared to my own. This is the realm of dreams, where I hold absolute power. No one's will supersedes my own in this realm. In this realm, I can do anything I wish to you. Tsukiyomi explained. Suddenly, they were surrounded by multiple dead bodies. Itachi recognized them as Uchiha. They began talking to him, asking him why he did it, screaming, as they were killed by him. Itachi then saw his mother's sword sticking out of her, stating that she loved him. Itachi broke down. Kisame suddenly found himself alone with Tsukiyomi in a white room. He reached for Samehada, only to find it was not there. Where are we? What did you do? He demanded of Tsukiyomi. This would normally be your greatest fear, regret, or evil deed. You seem to lack the conscience necessary to use this on you. Tell me, Kisame Hoshigaki, why is it you have no guilt for killing your superior and the squad you were sent to protect? This world is so corrupt. Everyone's living a lie. Kisame stated. Tsukiyomi rolled her eyes. Typical. So typical. And here I thought you had an actual reason. But it turns out you're just another stupid ninja. Tsukiyomi stated. Kisame began making hand signs, only to find that he couldn't sense his chakra. What he said before Tsukiyomi sent him flying back. This is the realm of dreams, remember? I hold absolute power. You have no power in this realm, ninja. Tsukiyomi reminded me. Trying to fight here is futile. Shut up. Kisame shouted, charging the tiny goddess. She instantly flipped him over onto his back. She put her foot on his throat and looked him in the eyes. You lack the conscience necessary for me to use the dream realm on you, so I guess you'll have to suffer through the nightmare realm. Tsukiyomi said before Kisame suddenly found himself in a polar opposite of where he previously was. He looked around and was suddenly slashed by a katana. He looked up to see his attacker was actually himself. It was his old self before he obtained Samehada. Kisame reflexively reached for Samehada, only to find that it wasn't there, a simple katana in its place. Kisame drew it anyway. Let's see if I've improved since then. Kisame shouted, charging his clone, engaging it in a brutal kenjutsu battle. Kisame was surprised, however, to find that the clone of him was keeping pace with him, even using moves he himself didn't know. That Tsukiyomi chick said that this was the nightmare realm. From what Itachi told me about it, it's up to the wielder what happens in the realm. If this chick is as good as I think she is, I'm screwed. Real world. Naruto was shocked. As soon as Tsukiyomi used that weird power on the duo that tried to capture him, the fish-looking guy had giant gashes appear all over him, while the other appeared to have a mental breakdown. Tsukiyomi looked down at the duo and returned to Naruto's side, her eyes returning to normal. Tsukiyomi-chan, what did you do to them? He asked a tiny goddess. I used one of my more powerful techniques against them. They shouldn't be getting up anytime soon. So, what should we do with them then? Allow me to handle that, Gaki. Jiraiya said behind them. As he approached the broken enemies, a plant-looking man appeared next to them. He grabbed them, and the three of them disappeared into the floor. Tsukiyomi raised a brow, as did Naruto. Well, that was weird, they both commented. As strange as that was, you two need to get some sleep. We've got to get moving tomorrow morning. Jiraiya told the young couple. They all returned to their rooms to get some well-earned rest. The next day. Naruto, Tsukiyomi, and Jiraiya finally reached Tenzaku town. As they were traveling, Naruto had successfully completed the second stage of the technique Jiraiya was teaching him and was now attempting the final stage. It was a great deal harder than the first two though, and he was having little success. Jiraiya headed into a gambling den and, after a small bet, found that Tsunade was indeed still here. After checking several other gambling dens and bars, they eventually found Tsunade at a bar that also sold food. "Jiraiya, what are you doing here?" Tsunade asked her old teammate as the trio sat down. "Who are the Gakas? Are you taking apprentices again? Though these don't look nearly as powerful as your last one." "Come on, Tsunade Haim, everyone pales in comparison to Yondaime. But don't underestimate these two. The boy's powerful in his own right and the girl is likely more powerful than the Shadaime." Tsunade raised a brow. "You expect me to believe a 12-year-old girl is strong enough to defeat the founder of Konoha?" Tsunade said. Jiraiya nodded. "Yup. Besides, she's not 12. She's much older than we are, older than Sensei, older than Shadaime." "No way. That's not possible, Jiraiya." Tsunade exclaimed in disbelief. Tsukiyomi decided to speak up. "Maybe not for one of your kind, but I am a higher order of being. I am Tsukiyomi, Megami of the Moon. I am immortal, but choose to remain in this form." Tsunade looked surprised, to say the least. "You expect me to believe you're the Tsukiyomi?" "Yes. We're getting off track here, Iro-senin," Naruto commented. Jiraiya nodded. "Right. Tsunade, you've probably heard about Odo and Suna invading Konoha." Seeing her nod, he continued. "Well, Orochimaru was behind it. He masterminded it so that he could kill Sensei. He nearly succeeded. It was only Tsukiyomi-sama and her siblings' intervention that spared the village. They saved him and killed Orochimaru, but the fight made him realize how much weaker he's become. He's planning to retire, and there's only one person who can replace him right now. Tsunade, the village requests you return and become Konoha's Godame Hokage," Jiraiya explained. Tsunade scoffed. "You know how I feel about that title, Jiraiya. The title of Hokage is a joke. Only a fool would want the title." Tsunade rebuffed. Naruto scowled. "Hey, my two-san laid his life down for Konoha. He was the greatest Hokage Konoha's ever seen." Naruto shouted at the woman. Tsunade's eyes widened. "You're..." "That's right, Tsunade. Naruto here is Minato and Kushina's son," Jiraiya announced. Tsunade's jaw dropped. "I heard that he was dead," Tsunade said. "Obviously I'm not. So are you going to accept the title or not? Decide quickly, please, I have training to get to," Naruto said, tapping his fingers on the table. "I'm sticking by what I said. The title is a joke," Tsunade repeated. Tsukiyomi glared at her, then stood up and began to walk out of the bar. "Hey, where are you going?" Jiraiya asked. "Back to the village. I'll probably be back with my siblings though. You're really deluding yourself if you think you have a choice in coming back to the village. The only reason you're not dubbed a missing nin is because you have Sannin travel rights, which are well within Sarutobi-san's right to revoke. Those are your options. Come back willingly or slung over Jiraiya's shoulder. Decide." Tsukiyomi stated. Naruto nodded. "So you'd really be willing to fight me, Jiraiya?" Tsunade asked. Jiraiya nodded. "The village needs you, Tsunade, and no matter what your personal problems with the village are, you're coming back one way or another. And in spite of how strong you are, even you know that you can't defeat me, Tsunade," Jiraiya stated. Tsunade sighed. "Looks like I don't have a choice. Fine, I'll come back, but I'm not accepting the title until I talk to Sensei," Tsunade stated. Jiraiya smiled and nodded. "Great. We'll leave tomorrow. Naruto, you and Tsukiyomi-sama go get us rooms at a hotel." Naruto nodded and left with Tsukiyomi. "I thought you weren't going to take any more apprentices, Jiraiya," Tsunade said after they left. "I owe it to him. Him and his parents. Besides, the Gaki's a quick learner. He's almost got the Rasengan down and I started teaching it to him 2 days ago. He's got his mother's chakra and his father's skill. The Gaki's going to be the greatest ninja any of us have ever seen," Jiraiya explained. "And the girl? Is she Realite Tsukiyomi?" "Yeah. Her siblings are still in Konoha, so you'll get to meet them when we get back to the village. Her sister is the one who killed Orochimaru and she did it with almost no effort. They created the Kyuubi, Tsunade. They're much more powerful than them. If they wanted to, they could wipe out the whole village with a flick of their wrists. So, why come to Konoha then? They're looking for their weapons. Someone stole them from them. Orochimaru had the Kusanagi, and that was why he was killed. According to them, stealing from a god is punished by death. Wow, lots happened since I left, hasn't it?" Tsunade remarked, getting a nod from Jiraiya. "Now, tell me everything you know about what's happened since the girl and her siblings got down here." So Jiraiya began telling Tsunade of how the 3 gods arrived. He told her about the invasion and Tsukiyomi's attachment to Naruto. He told her everything. It's hard to believe that what you're telling me actually happened. Believe it, Tsunade. Her siblings are no laughing matter, and neither is she, for that matter. She scares me more than you did when we were teammates. Jiraiya said seriously. Now that's sure to believe, Jiraiya. But I guess I'll take your word for it. It's getting late. We'd better rest up. Got a big day tomorrow, huh? She said. Jiraiya nodded. Jiraiya went after the two children while Tsunade and Shizune headed to their own hotel room. As Jiraiya passed Naruto and Tsukiyomi's room, he peeked inside and saw them both asleep on Naruto's bed, cuddled close together. He smiled and headed to his own room to get some rest. So the Gaki's got himself a girlfriend. Kami knows he deserves happiness. Jiraiya thought before he quickly fell asleep. Come on Gaki. Only 80 more to go. Susanoo shouted. He and Naruto were currently in the woods by Naruto's house. They had begun Naruto's training as soon as Naruto had gotten back from his mission to find Tsunade, and Naruto was beginning to think Susanoo was trying to kill him. That's easy for you to say, Naruto grunted out, you don't have a fucking boulder in your back. Remember who you're talking to, kid. I train this way with mountains, so I'm going easy on you, as it is. 70 more. Keep at it. Susanoo ordered. Not far from the training area, Tsukiyomi and Kusanada were watching their men train. I'm surprised Susanoo-kun is holding back this much. Kusanada commented. It's most likely because he knows I'd be forced to kill him if he killed Naruto. Tsukiyomi replied. Naruto and Tsukiyomi had become a couple upon their return to Konoha, something Tsukiyomi's siblings teased them relentlessly for. True. Where's Ni-san? Kusanada asked. She's with Iruka-san. Tsukiyomi replied with a slight giggle. Amaterasu had begun dating the Chunin soon after Naruto and Tsukiyomi left. They were an interesting couple, to say the least. Amaterasu seemed cool-headed, but when she was with those she considered close, she was a rather passionate woman. Not to the point of breaking her cool-headed persona, but she was rather fiery. Iruka discovered this rather quickly and, according to him, it only made him like her more. 40 more, Gaki. Susanoo shouted at the young boy. He was rather enjoying tormenting Naruto this way. It served the purpose of strengthening him, while simultaneously allowing Susanoo to mess with him. This was also showing Susanoo just how resilient Naruto really was. 10 more, Naruto grunted out. Done. Susanoo shouted, kicking the boulder off of Naruto's back. Naruto collapsed to the ground in exhaustion. Oh. Imauto, your boyfriend's lost consciousness. He shouted out, poking Naruto's unmoving form with his foot. In an instant, Tsukiyomi was by Naruto's side, placing his head in her lap, affectionately running her fingers through his hair. Take care of him, Imauto. Kusanada-chan, and I have someone to go see. Tsukiyomi nodded absently, staring at Naruto's sleeping face. Susanoo approached his wife, who was smiling at the young couple. Come on, Koichi, we promised Yuga we'd be there, remember? He reminded me. Kusanada nodded, hopping off of her seat and grasping his hand. They headed into the village, leaving Naruto and Tsukiyomi alone. But the Amaterasu watched with a smile on her face as Iruka scolded 3 shinobi hopefuls that called themselves the Konohamaru Corps. She often stopped by after academy hours to see Iruka, and he was frequently scolding them for something. She had found out that the trio considered Naruto their boss, as they put it. Now, go on home, you 3. Iruka sighed, dismissing the young students. He turned to see Amaterasu sitting on the corner of his desk with a smile on her face. What? You're really good with children, Iruka-kun. Amaterasu commented. I've been a teacher for a long time, Amaterasu. He responded. Amaterasu hopped off of his desk and walked over to him. Now that class is over, what do you want to do? She asked, looping her arms around his neck. Iruka smiled at his girlfriend, pulling her close to him. I'm sure you'll think of something. He replied before kissing her. But Susanoo and Kusanada and Susanoo arrived at a dango stand to see 4 women sitting at a table speaking. One of them was Yugao. The other 3 were her best friends, Anko Mitarashi, Kurina Yuhi, and Hana Inyazuka. Anko saw them approaching and waved them over with a wide grin on her face. Feeling any better, Nico-chan? Susanoo asked as he and Kusanada sat at the table. Yugao smiled at the kami. Yes, thanks to all of you guys. She responded. Anko, Hana, and Susanoo grinned while Kurenai and Kusanada smiled. That's what friends are for, right? Kusanada said. Yugao smiled and nodded. Hey, Susanoo-kun, I heard you've been training the blonde Gaki. Anko asked. Susanoo nodded with a smirk. Yeah. He's a fast learner. He stated. Really? Hana asked. From what I said, Naruto wasn't a very good student when he was in the academy. Susanoo nodded again. True, but the academy only teaches conventionally. That's why people with the potential to be truly powerful, like Naruto, are overlooked in favor of students that already show promise but don't have nearly as much potential, like Sasuke. If Naruto had a proper sensei during the academy, he'd have passed the Chunin exam when he was 10. Susanoo stated, shocking all present, save for Kusanada. He has that much raw talent? Kurenai asked, getting another nod from Susanoo in response. Yes. That kid will be the strongest being this village has seen since the Shodai Hokage. With Tsukiyomi and Naruto. Naruto opened his eyes to be greeted with the sight of his girlfriend smiling down at him. Hey. He greeted, feeling the fatigue from the training. Good afternoon, sleepyhead. She responded, continuing to run her fingers through his hair. Naruto attempted to get up and look around, only to have Tsukiyomi pin him to the ground, holding his head in her lap. You need to rest. She started in a scolding manner. Yes ma'am. Naruto grumbled out, making her giggle. Good boy. She replied, patting him on the head. Where's Susanoo-sensei and Kusanada-chan? They went to be with their friends. Nai-sen said you were done training for today. She answered. But it's still light out. Naruto protested, I can't sit still for that long, Tsukiyomi-chan. He stated, gaining another giggle from the diminutive goddess. I'm sure we can think of something to do, Naruto-kun. She stated before Naruto's stomach let out a mighty rumble. Like maybe get some food. She stated afterwards. Naruto chuckled before shakily getting to his feet, Tsukiyomi helping him, as he did. Ichiraku's? He asked hopefully. Tsukiyomi smiled. Sure, Naruto-kun. She helped the blonde up and they were instantly consumed by a white light. Back with Kusanada and Susanoo. So how did you two get together anyway? Anko suddenly asked the two Kamis. I was given to him in return for him slaying the Yamada no Orochi. Kusanada answered. So you were his reward? Kurenai stated, her face crunching up at the thought. Not in the manner you're thinking, Kurenai dono. Susanoo said. I have never thought of my tenshi as a mere reward. He said, lovingly stroking Kusanada's face. Then how did you get together? Anko asked again. Kusanada smiled at her friend. Alright Anko. I'll tell you. It all started with me finding this handsome man over here, she began. Flashback. Kusanada was seated in her favorite flower field, gathering flowers for her parents. Today was the anniversary of the day her 7 sisters were devoured by the Yamada no Orochi. The flowers were for their morning shrines. She plucked the first flower and heard a loud thud behind her, followed by a groan. She turned around to see the most handsome man she had ever seen. He had long black hair tied back into a loose ponytail. His face was angled, his chin defined, with a noticeable layer of stubble. He was clad in white hakama and a deep red haori. His chest was exposed, revealing his muscled physique. Attached to his obi by a cord was a sake bottle, a katana on the opposite side. He was currently on his back, rubbing his eyes tiredly. Damn. She didn't have to kick me out, he mumbled, not seeming to notice her. Who are you? She hesitantly inquired, instantly drawing his attention to her. Susanoo? He replied disinterestedly, thoroughly shocking Kusanada. She rapidly stood up and bowed slowly. Susanoo-sama. I apologize for not recognizing you. She said, fearing his wrath. The Kami of Storms was known for his furious temper. She kept her head low, not daring to meet his eyes or even gaze at his form. She heard nothing briefly before she heard him move. She felt a hand slowly run through her raven black hair before moving down to rest at her chin. He lifted her head back up, her body coming with it, forcing her to meet his dark eyes. On his face was a benevolent smile. You have no reason to fear me, young ninja. I do not strike down mortals without reason. He said, slightly calming her. He studied her face. Without the fear in her eyes, she was quite beautiful. Her raven hair framed her heart-shaped face perfectly. Her vibrant green eyes shone with a hint of amazement at coming face to face with a kami. Her ivory skin seemed to glow. If he didn't know otherwise, he would think her to be a Megami. What is a beautiful young ninja such as yourself doing in this forest? Are you not aware of the Akashi in this forest? My lord, the Akashi fled the forest when the Yamada no Orochi appeared here. There are no beings left in this forest. She explained, her heart sinking, as the memories of her sisters resurfaced at the mention of the demonic serpent. Susanoo studied her features briefly before nodding to himself. You have suffered at the hands of the Orochi, have you not? At her hesitant nod, he asked, I presume you lost a loved one? I lost my sisters. In the past 7 years, it has devoured one of them each year, always on the same day. Today it will arrive for me. She answered glumly. Susanoo looked to the sky with a frown. More and more I question your wisdom, Izanagi-sama, he said. He looked back at the girl. The Yamada no Orochi is indeed a fearsome creature. Tell me, do you fear death? He asked, leaning closer to the girl. I am but a simple ninja, my lord. Whether I fear it or not, it will eventually claim me. I do not want to meet the end of my days at the hand of the great serpent. She responded. Susanoo smiled. A wise answer. Naive, but wise. He responded. You are the last child of your parents, yes. At her nod, he continued, it is never a good thing for a parent to bury their child. I cannot resurrect the dead, but I can prevent their loss of you. He said, making her eyes widen. You will fight the serpent? She asked. Forgive me, my lord, but what reason would cause you to fight for the sake of a mere mortal such as myself? Susanoo smiled, lightly caressing her cheek, making her blush. Beauty such as yours should not be squandered as a sacrifice to a creature. He responded slowly. Her blush deepened at his tone. He chuckled at her flustered appearance. Can you take me to your home? He asked. Kusanada stood up immediately and nodded. Hi, Susanoo-sama. Kusanada led the kami to her home, where she was met by her parents, who were absolutely shocked at seeing Susanoo. He quickly filled them in on why he was there. Is there anything we can do to repay you, my lord? Her father asked. Susanoo adopted a thinking posture briefly before snapping his fingers and pulling the sake bottle off of his obi. He tossed it to the man. Fill that up for me. He said. The man nodded and rushed off, saying something about his best stock. As surely there is more we can do for you, my lord. With all due respect, do you honestly expect us to believe that you would slay the great serpent for a single bottle of sake? Her mother asked. I'm not doing it for the sake of it. I honestly don't know why I'm doing this. He said. Kusanada's father sped back into the room and handed Susanoo the bottle. I have filled it with the best liquor in my possession, my lord. He said. Susanoo nodded to the man, reattaching the bottle to his obi. He then headed to the door. Whatever you do, do not leave the proximity of this shrine. Its aura will keep you safe. He ordered, as rain clouds began to blanket the skies. The roar of Irachi was heard in the distance. This is where the fun begins. He said, a grin forming on his face as he drew his blade. The sword seemed to gleam in delight as rain cascaded down its blade. Lightning streaked across the sky as the Yamato no Irachi slithered over the mountainside. It looked over at Kusanada, who was peering out from behind Susanoo, and roared. Susanoo's grip on his blade tightened. Thunderclaps roared out, overpowering the serpent's great roar. Susanoo stepped forward but felt a hand gripping his robe. He turned to see Kusanada, a worried look on her face. Are you sure you'll be alright, my lord? Not to disrespect your store. She was cut off as Susanoo pulled her into a soul-searing kiss. After a brief moment of shock, she began to return his affections, much to the shock of her parents, whose jaws had hit the floor at the kiss. Susanoo pulled away slightly, placing his forehead against hers. Have faith in me, my dear. So long as you believe in me, I cannot lose. He said, his breath hitting her lips. She laid a faint peck on his lips before stepping back. I will, Susanoo-sama. He stepped away from the shrine and turned to face the beast. Hello Irachi. Your slayer has arrived. He shouted, jumping into the air, soaring towards the beast. It immediately sent 4 of its heads after him. Moments before they reached him, however, 4 lightning bolts descended from the sky, striking the heads, paralyzing them. Susanoo immediately severed 2 of the heads, causing Irachi to shriek out in pain. Not missing a beat, he sped forward, intent on severing the other 2, only to have 3 more heads snap at him. He deftly dodged the first 2 and stabbed his blade through the bottom of the mouth of the third. Twisting the blade, he sped towards the rest of its body, dragging his sword along the length of the head. As he reached the juncture of the area connecting the heads to the bodies, he twisted the blade, severing that head, as well. That's 3. He counted. The beast roared at the kami, sending all of its remaining heads after him. He smirked. He hefted his sword over his head, firmly gripping it with both hands. An enormous thunderclap sounded, its booming noise serving to actually disorient the great serpent. An enormous bolt of energy shot from the sword, flying into the clouds above them. The clouds suddenly began to fuse into one enormous cloud flying over them. I doubt fried snake will taste good, but oh well, Susanoo said before tossing his sword into the air. A lightning bolt erupted from the cloud, lighting up the night sky across Japan. It shot straight at the blade, being absorbed by the metal. Susanoo jumped up after it, gripping the handle once more. All of the electricity funneled into the blade, shining like the sun. Susanoo paused briefly, gazing down at Kusanada. She was looking up at him with complete faith painted on her face. He smiled at her before dive-bombing the blinded serpent. He stabbed the blade into the body of the great serpent with a booming roar. The lightning bolt absorbed into the blade was released within the serpent. What resulted was a rather gruesome sight. The serpent's scales were completely charred. What remained of them, anyway? The heat was so immense, the eyes of each head had completely melted, leaving empty sockets. Most of its scales were burned off, leaving bare muscle. Any blood that would have shown had completely evaporated, leaving it to already appear partially decomposed. Susanoo pulled his blade free of the corpse. He gazed upon the remains of the creature, a look of disappointment on his face. He suddenly heard a cracking sound behind him. He turned to see the charred scales of one of the tails cracking. He moved closer to the tail, leaning down to examine it. It suddenly split open, one of the scales hitting him in the face. He looked at the tail and immediately saw an object within it. He attempted to retrieve it, only to find that the electric charge had fused it with the corpse. He stabbed his blade into the tail, cutting the object free. He reached in to retrieve it, this time succeeding in pulling it out. "The sword," he said in curiosity. The blade was quite elegant looking, glimmering in the rain. The guard was rectangular, with two smaller rectangles next to the blade inside the guard. The handle was white, with gold beneath the wrapping. He sheathed his own blade and hefted the new blade onto his shoulder. He looked up at the sky briefly before beginning to make his way back to the shrine, the weather instantly clearing up as he did so. As soon as he landed, Kusanada immediately ran up to him and tightly embraced the kami. "You did it," she said joyously. Susanoo smirked. "Was there ever a doubt that I would?" he said. She smiled at him in response. He looked over at the shrine and saw her parents hesitantly moving closer to them. "Thank you so much, my lord. We are forever in your debt," her father said, bowing to the kami. "There must be some way we can repay you, my lord. We simply cannot allow you to have no payment for this great feat," her mother said. "I have a suggestion," they heard a booming voice say. Kusanada and her parents looked around for its owner, but Susanoo simply turned his head to the right, meeting eyes with said owner. "Izanagi-sama," he said, garnering the humans' attention. They were stunned by the kami patriarch's appearance. He appeared to be a middle-aged man, with shoulder-length black hair and midnight black eyes. He sported a shaggy beard and mustache, both also black. He was wearing a rust-orange regal kimono with wave patterns on it. In his right hand was a long naginata. "I thought Amaterasu kicked me out," Susanoo stated. Izanagi nodded. "She did. However, Tsukiyomi has calmed her down somewhat. I believe if you have a peace offering, she will forgive you." "I have this," Susanoo replied, holding up the sword, a disinterested look on his face. "It seems to be a fine blade indeed," Izanagi stated, looking at the sword with an appraising eye. "Yes, this may have power to rival the Tetsuka blade you carry. Does it have a name?" he asked. Susanoo briefly adopted a thinking expression. "How about the Kusanagi no Tsurugi?" he offered. Izanagi nodded. "Now, you said you had a solution to this payment problem." "Indeed, it would solve more than one problem at once. Take the girl," he stated. Kusanada blushed, her parents were shocked beyond belief, and Susanoo was currently looking at Izanagi as if he had just grown a second head. "Are you insane?" he asked. "It would solve a great many problems, my son. This girl obviously has affections for you, as you do for her. What greater honor is there for her parents than to have their daughter marry a kami? You're saying I should take her as my wife, as my payment for killing the damned serpent? Have you lost your mind?" Susanoo shouted. "Is the idea that repulsive to you?" "Well, no, but you have feelings for this ninja, yes?" "I do, but then what is the problem?" "I'm not kidnapping my bride." "Then ask for her hand," Izanagi stated. Susanoo stared at him, not expecting that response. He looked back at Kusanada, who was blushing brightly. He briefly turned back to Izanagi, muttering "I hate you" over and over. Izanagi smirked before vanishing in a column of light. Susanoo approached the stunned family with a neutral look on his face. "Look, I know that you both love your daughter very much, which is why I won't accept her as payment for killing the serpent," he began. Kusanada actually seemed sad. "However, if she wants to come with me back to my home, I will not refuse her." Kusanada looked up at Susanoo, who was smiling now. "It's your decision, Kusanada-chan," he said. Kusanada looked back at her parents, who were smiling. "Oh, Musume," her mother said, "a mother knows. Your heart is with him now," she urged. Kusanada hugged her as her father approached Susanoo. "Take good care of her, my lord." "I will, Ashinazuchi. I have a gift for you," he said, placing his hand on her father's shoulder. He felt a surge of power enter him before dissipating. Susanoo walked over to her mother and did it once more. "What did you do?" Kusanada asked. Susanoo smiled. "I have bestowed upon them the honor of becoming my earth deities," he responded. Seeing her amazed look, he smiled. "You will not age when you are with me, but your parents will wither and die. I knew this would sadden you, so I have rendered that impossible. They cannot ascend to my realm, but they will be immortal as my subjects." Kusanada hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Susanoo-sama," she said, her voice slightly muffled from his chest. He chuckled, patting her head lightly to get her to look up. "You're my equal now," You don't need to be so respectful. Hi, Susanoo-kun. She responded, a radiant smile on her face. Susanoo turned to her parents. Shinazuchi, your duties are simple. Guard my shrine, as you have done throughout your life. We will come down to see you at your daughter's leisure. Her parents nodded. Hi, Susanoo-sama. Kusanada said goodbye to her parents once more before she was embraced by Susanoo. Farewell. He said before they vanished in a bolt of lightning. Then flashback. After that, I met all of the other kamis, and Izanagi-sama granted me kami status. Susanoo-kun gave Amaterasu the Kusanagi, and that's pretty much it. Kusanada finished. Wow, Anko said. So you made her parents immortal? Yugao asked. Yes. Susanoo responded. Could you do that to anyone? She asked. Yes, though they must be alive for it to work. Only Izanami Dono can resurrect the dead. Susanoo replied. I know that you miss him, Yugao Dono, but resurrecting the dead can have harsh consequences, ones that no one can live with. It's best that the dead stay dead. He said. Yugao nodded. I understand, You miss him? Kusanada finished. She nodded. Just how long ago was that? Hana asked curiously. A long time ago. It was about 80 years before that Rakuto guy showed up. Susanoo stated, making everyone at the table, save for Susanoo and his wife, go wide-eyed. You guys have been married that long? Hana said. Kusanada nodded. Hi. The Rakuto Sennin first appeared to the people not long after Izanagi barred us from coming to the Ninjan realm. Would he do that? Anko asked curiously. You don't need to know. Susanoo replied quickly, his voice taking a harsh tone, unnerving Kunoichi. I'm sorry, Kusanada said, but it's not something we can tell you, okay? She asked with a smile. The other girls nodded. Anko, noticing the rather gloomy mood, decided to lighten things up. So how soon after that did you two do it? She asked, making Susanoo and Kusanada sputter. Namika's home. Naruto was currently having the best day of his life. After getting ramen with his goddess girlfriend, Tsukiyomi decided to teleport them back to Naruto's house. Upon their arrival, she had pinned him to the sofa and begun to make out with him. This had been going on for the past 20 minutes, and Naruto for one didn't really care if it ever stopped. They were so engrossed in one another that they failed to hear the front door open. Amaterasu walked in, her date with Haruka finished, and immediately caught sight of them. She pondered what she should do before smirking evilly and going into the other room, leaving the young couple to continue their fevered make-out session. She returned holding a bucket of water. Moving closer to the couple, she proceeded to dump the bucket onto them, surprising them both. Naruto began to sputter as he saw Amaterasu staring at him while Tsukiyomi glared at her sister. Ni-san. Tsukiyomi shouted in protest. Amaterasu smiled. Yes, Amato, she responded. We were sort of in the middle of something, Ni-san. Tsukiyomi said. I know, Amato. I felt the need to interrupt. Tsukiyomi continued to glare. Naruto had taken off his jacket, which was sopping wet. Before any conversation could continue, Susanoo and Kusanada came in. Upon seeing them, Susanoo raised a brow. Why are Amato and my student wet? He looked over at Amaterasu. Seeing the bucket still in her hands, he rolled his eyes. I think you could have done a little better than that, Ni-chan. Amaterasu shrugged. Whatever. How are you feeling, Gaki? Better. Still a little sore, though. Naruto responded. Good. You've got the rest of today off, but training resumes tomorrow. Look forward to it. He said before going upstairs with Kusanada. Naruto sighed. Susanoo had been teaching him since he got back from finding Tsunade. Naruto had yet to learn a single thing. All Susanoo had done was make him do various exercises that would increase his muscles. Naruto failed to see the point. He should be learning new jutsu, not lifting weights. Tsukiyomi seemed to understand his frustration, but she didn't talk to Susanoo about it. He wondered when he would actually learn something from the warrior god. Naruto-kun. Tsukiyomi said, breaking the blonde from his thoughts. He saw that he and Tsukiyomi were the only ones remaining in the room. Are you alright? Tsukiyomi-chan, is Susanoo-sensei a good teacher? He asked. He can be a bit rough, but there's always a reason for his methods. Tsukiyomi explained. Then why hasn't he taught me anything? He asked. The entire time he's been training me, all I've done is make my muscles stronger. When am I gonna learn something that can actually help in a fight? Naruto-kun, you need to have faith in Nai-san. I've known him my entire life, and he's never taken an apprentice that didn't turn out extraordinary. She responded. I don't think he'd want me to tell you this, but I think it's important. Naruto-kun, the last person who was trained by Susanoo, was Rakuto Sennin himself. Naruto gaped at the diminutive goddess. The first shinobi learned from your brother. As you are now. Nai-san always said that to have true power, you first need to be strong enough to not need it. I think Nai-san is making you do all these muscle exercises to make you strong enough to handle whatever it is he's going to teach you. Have faith in him, Naruto-kun, as I have faith in you. She finished, kissing him on the cheek. Naruto smiled, embracing the diminutive goddess. She was right. He just had to be patient. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.